Hello, my needle drops. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and I have quite a review here. Twice as many notes as I usually have. Yeah. I want to let you guys know that down there in the D-Box there's a link to where you can stream the entire No Age LP, everything in between in full. Of course, I'm going to review it. Just head down there if you haven't heard it yet. Listen to it. The New York band Swans. This is their new album. My father will guide me up a rope to the sky. And it's their first full length in 14 years. And a lot of y'all youngins may not know that Swans is one of the most significant bands in experimental music. The band's discography shows that in its prime, the comfort zone was pretty roomy. If there was a genre or a style that was outside of the mainstream at the time, Swans have been labeled it. Noise, no wave, industrial, post-rock, post-punk, avant-garde, outsider music. Although some of their work in the 90s did get pretty poppy at points. The intense sounds of Swans' older records, especially records like Holy Money and Cop, and those records are intense even by today's standards. The sounds there, of course, influenced two of my favorite bands, Earth and Sun. So you can imagine with all this influentialness and the reputation, the 14 years until this album, there is a lot riding on this thing. There's a lot to expect. My first observation with this LP is that it really sounds nothing like any Swan album. And I realize there's kind of a tendency for people to just fold their arms and say, well, this doesn't sound like Swans, I don't like it. But to these people I would like to say, where have you been? Their stuff in the early 80s sounds different from their stuff in the late 80s, which sounds different from their stuff in the early 90s, which sounds different from their stuff in the mid-90s. They really aren't well known for sticking to one idea. But really the direction, the style of this new album isn't all that difficult to comprehend if you've been following the solo work or the solo projects of Swans frontman and mastermind Michael Gira. It's not like he's been on vacation for the past 14 years. He's been putting out solo LPs, and the side project that he's put albums out with most consistently has been the Angels of Light, which stylistically carries a lot of folk music, roots music, but also psychedelic elements, noise too. And of course Gira's solo work has turned up on this LP. And it's not just because of where he may be artistically. A lot of the musicians in this reincarnation of Swans are actually from Gira's personal band. And in ways it kind of sounds like a glorified, electrified version of that Gira solo stuff. And it may also be another way for him to draw attention to the stuff that he's been doing. I mean, after all, what is a reviewer or a music fan more likely to gloss over? A new Gira record or the first Swans record in 14 years? So kind of to get to the record, even though Swans here, still very adventurous, still very heavy, this LP is kind of easy to pull apart at 8 tracks. The opener is extremely noisy, just starting out easy with some bells, but then just kicking the doors down with guitar riffs, drums, and all sorts of dissonant horns and strings building up in the background. It's a pretty dark intro, but it eventually builds into somewhat of an art rock type of verse. And it's here where I think Swans lose a little bit of their steam, again and again and again. The rock parts just don't feel as intense or as gratifying for me as the noisier moments. Because on this first track, the drums are a little muddied by all this room ambience around them, and the guitars come off a little dull too. The heavier, rockier moments, the kind of stuff that you expect from Swans, for me was just okay. The parts which I actually felt went over really well and were great was maybe a little bit closer to what Michael Gira has been doing for the past 14 years, the acoustic moments. The song Reeling the Liars In is one of the best parts of this album. Really shows that Gira still has a great sixth sense for writing very dark lyrics, you know, flames licking the black sky, mass genocide of people who lie, very extreme stuff. And also he has a knack for arranging on this song too. It's not only very disturbing, but very beautiful. I find a lot of that same haunting beauty in the track You F***ing People Make Me Sick, which is also very acoustic, great melody, and just kind of sticks there in the back of my brain like a shadow or something, shadow creature. When the band tries to rock, like on songs like Eat in Prison or My Birth, the music just isn't all that subtle. It's in fact kind of repetitive, just monotonous, monotonous, monotonous. And I just don't feel the same charm coming from Gira's vocal delivery. He doesn't write lyrics as poetically when the band is playing loud as opposed to when they're playing quietly. At some points I kind of hear a little bit of Lou Reed in his vocals, and at other points I'm kind of reminded of Grinder Man, but like less intense and with less storytelling. I didn't come across any songs on here that I have a deep-seated hatred for. However, there were a lot of parts on here that just didn't strike me as memorable, just didn't strike me as being all that grand. The acoustic moments, the noisier moments, especially that piano part at the end of You F***ing People Make Me Sick, amazing. Just had me floored. I was just wide-eyed and freaking out. Considering that kind of stuff is the stuff Michael Gira has been doing, and the rockier moments are what he's kind of getting back into the swing of, I think this is kind of maybe a display of what you don't use, you lose. However, I'm of the opinion that Gira actually has a lot of great years left inside of him, and I think that if he were to come back to Swans again, please do, he could put together a much more mind-blowing record. I'm feeling like a strong 6, almost a light 7 on this thing. But what do you guys think? Are you totally in love with this thing, or are you totally in hate with this thing? Does Gira legitimately want to come back and bring Swans back to life, or is he just trying to do his own thing under a different name? If you've heard it, let me know your favorite track. And, yeah. Anthony Fantano, new Swans record, forever.